Salam alaikum, peace be upon you. This peace can only come from Allah. Only Allah can give real peace. In a former part of our program, we have seen that Prophet Adam and his wife, Hawa, were created by Allah, who gave the responsibility over the wonderful garden of Adam to them. However, Shaitan, the enemy of Allah, brought them to choose him as their master instead of Allah. It was not just deception, it was also rebellion. It was a break of confidence with inevitable consequences. Adam and his wife Hawa would have to leave the garden and to die. Yet we have seen that Allah is full of compassion and mercy, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He is ready to forgive. The question is, how is this going to happen? What is the way out? All the prophets have taught that there is only one God, only one way of salvation, only one way to Allah, one way to paradise, and only one faith. Turning the pages of the honored Quran, we discover that one prophet occupies a very special position among all prophets. He is called by an amazing name for a human being, Allah's friend. This prophet is Ibrahim, peace be upon him. In An-Nisa 125, we read, "Who can be better in religion than one who surrenders himself to Allah, does good, and follows the way of Ibrahim, the upright in faith? Allah himself chose Ibrahim as a friend." What an unusual name for a human being. It surely expresses a very special relationship between Ibrahim and Allah. A friend is someone you can tell everything and ask anything to. Indeed, Allah the Wise trusted Ibrahim like you count on someone you know. This might explain why Allah asked him one day to perform such an incredibly shocking act like sacrificing his own son. In Surah As-Safat, Surah 37, we read from verse 102, "And when he, his son, was old enough to walk with him, Ibrahim told him, 'O my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you. So look, what do you think?' The son answered, 'O my father, do that which you are commanded. Allah willing, you shall find me of the steadfast.' Then, when they had both surrendered to Allah, and he had flung him down into his face, we called unto him, 'O Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the vision. Lo, thus we do reward the doers of good.' That was verily a clear text. Then we ransomed him with a tremendous sacrifice." This ayah discloses a dialogue between Allah and Ibrahim. Here, Allah, the sovereign king, gave the most difficult command any mortal man has ever been asked to obey, an order that we cannot really understand. Allah spoke to Ibrahim in a dream, asking him to take his beloved son to a certain hill and offer him there as a sacrifice. Some object that the honored Quran never said that Allah told Ibrahim to kill his son. Rather, it teaches us that Ibrahim had a dream in which he saw himself slaughtering his son. It is true that the honored Quran never clearly says that the dream was from Allah. However, Ibrahim believed the dream and interpreted it as a command coming from Allah. Let us try for a moment to imagine how Ibrahim, already an old man, awakened his sleeping beloved son in the darkness of the dawn and whispered the command to get up and go on a journey with him. It surely took them several days, and Ibrahim's heart was surely the heaviest burden to carry. Each night the patriarch would call on Allah's mercy to change his will. However, no answer came to cancel what Ibrahim had heard at first. Allah is the eternal, absolute, and self-sufficient. He never changed his verdicts. Eventually, Ibrahim sighted the mountain on which the sacrifice should take place. It was only natural that the young man, his son, should wonder where the sacrificial animal was. "Father," "Yes, my son, I see that you have the coals and the wood, but where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" Please close your eyes. Can you see Prophet Ibrahim and his son walking on side by side? Observe how both build an altar and arrange the wood on it. First, the patriarch turns his face away. His cherished son should not see the tears running down his cheeks. Not yet. But then he tells his son what Allah, the Irresistible One, has commanded. Can you see the horror that his dear child felt? This son was young and strong. He could easily have overpowered his aged father and run away. But as his father explained it all, the boy decided to share his father's faith. He willingly submitted, the most remarkable attitude of piety ever witnessed by any human being. The father's faith and devotion were perfectly reflected or equaled by the son's. Ibrahim so loved Allah that he gave his son, and the son so loved both Allah and his father that he gave himself to Allah. The world has never seen such a demonstration of affection, such wholehearted surrender to Allah the Greatest on the part of both a human father and child. Both embrace in a last goodbye, their hearts bleeding with sorrow. The old father ties the lad, lays it on the altar. While calling on the mercy of Allah with the Lord Bismillah, he grasped and raised the knife to cut the throat of his beloved son. Someone could ask, does Allah have the right to claim such a sacrifice of his friend Ibrahim? Of course, Allah has all rights. Second question, has Ibrahim's son sinned? Oh yes, for all human beings are sinners. The honored Quran says, Abasa 23, "No, until now, no man has done what Allah has commanded." Ibrahim's son was a sinner. Therefore, he had to die like Adam and his wife Hawa. But after they sinned for the first time, again, keep in mind that Allah is righteous and does not change his verdict. But Allah loved Ibrahim and his son. And while the old prophet lifted his knife to kill his son, an angel coming from Allah appeared and stopped him. Suddenly Allah called out from heaven, "Ibrahim!" He answered, "Yes, I am." Don't hurt the lad or do anything to him. For now I know that you have obedient reverence for Allah, because you have not kept back your only son from him. Prophet Ibrahim looked around and saw a ram caught in a bush by its horns. He went and took it and offered it as a burnt offering in the place of his son. This phenomenal story has made a great impression on millions of minds around the world. Its climax is the ayat 37:17. We, Allah, ransomed him with a tremendous sacrifice. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. We ransomed him, or in a more explicit translation, and we made an animal prepared for sacrifice to be a ransom for him and freed him from slaughter. We should notice that the act of ransoming is performed by Allah himself. If Allah had just wanted to make a test, we might wonder why he had to prepare an animal and to give it for slaughter instead of Ibrahim's son. Also, the use of the Arabic word "azim," something of great significance, shows that we are in presence of a very special event. Let us think for a moment about this event. Who had to die? A ram. Where did the ram come from? From heaven. Who gave it? Allah. Who stayed alive? Ibrahim's son. Now, do not forget that Ibrahim was a very rich man. He owned thousands of camels, sheep, and donkeys. Ibrahim is called the upright in faith and truly submitted to Allah. Despite of such an astounding submission, we can easily imagine him telling Allah, "Why, Lord? I was so afraid for my son. I love him more than all my possessions. Why did you let me suffer so terribly with such a command? And then, when we finally arrived, you gave me an animal to sacrifice. Why didn't you tell me that this is what you wanted? I would have gladly slaughtered hundreds of rams for you. I would have given my whole flock for you." Ibrahim was probably a wealthy man. He maybe owned hundreds of camels, sheep, and donkeys. Allah still could have answered Ibrahim's objection by saying, "Ibrahim, my friend, I know how precious your son is to you. But all your riches and all your flocks would not be sufficient to ransom the life of your son, to deliver him from death, and to repair the painful consequences of his sin. There's only one thing that is more precious to you than your own heir, your own son. And there's only one thing that can save the young man from death, and that is my ram, the one that I have chosen." And Allah would continue saying, "The only one who is worth more than your son, the only one who can redeem man, is my ram. And I have given you this ram as a gift from heaven to pay the ransom price for the sins of your son." Allow me one more question. What would have happened if Ibrahim had not accepted Allah's ram? If he had said, "Oh no, my Lord, I cannot accept this gift. I do not want you to bring such a tremendous sacrifice for me." The answer would be quite simple. "All right, Ibrahim, but if you do not want to kill my ram, you must kill your own son. He must die because he is a sinner, and every sinner has deserved death." My friends, is the situation clear? Think about it. Either the ram that comes from Allah can stay alive, but the son of Ibrahim dies, or the ram that comes from Allah dies and the son stays alive. What did Ibrahim decide to do? He obeyed so that his son could live. He accepted that the ram should die instead of his son. Doing this, he surrendered to the will of Allah, and this is why he's called the father of all who surrender to Allah. In the honored Quran, we read, Al Imran 67, "Ibrahim was neither a Jew nor a Christian, but was an upright man who had surrendered to Allah, Muslim. He was not of the idol worshippers." Everybody who calls himself Muslim, surrender to Allah, that's the meaning, must follow the way of Ibrahim. Not his good deeds will free him from sin, but his readiness to accept the ram that comes from Allah and that dies in his place. This animal coming from Allah. To understand more what it means, let us come back to the story of Adam and his wife Hawa in the Garden of Eden. After they had eaten the forbidden fruit, Adam and Hawa realized the seriousness of their mistake and the consequences of their disobedience. Surah Taha 121. They both, Adam and Hawa, ate of this fruit, and so their nakedness appeared to them. They began to cover themselves with leaves from the garden. Thus Adam disobeyed his Lord and went astray. Our first parents immediately felt ashamed and became afraid of Allah, the all-seeing and all-aware. When we sin and all of a sudden realize that Allah can see everything, we feel helpless and dishonored, similar to when someone sees us naked. Suppose Allah would write all our sins and evil thoughts on a slate. Maybe a wall would not even be big enough. How would you feel? Embarrassed, disgraced, defiled? At that point, the good news is that Allah did not give up his creatures. Allah is not a judgmental God coming around with a rod. Let us put it that way. Allah hates sin, but He loves sinners. He did the first step towards Prophet Adam. In Al-A'raf, verse 22, we read, "Thus did He lead them by deceit," the devil. "But when they, Adam and Eve, tasted of the tree, their shame was manifest to them, and they began to hide by heaping on themselves some of the leaves of the garden. And their Lord called them, saying, Did I forbid you from that tree, and tell you that assuredly Satan is an open enemy to you?" Why did Allah ask Adam where he was? Didn't He know where Adam and Eve were hiding? Of course He knew. Allah is the omnipresent, omniscient. He knows everything. He's everywhere, and therefore nothing can escape His eyes. Despite of their irreparable disgrace, Adam and Hawa tried to hide their shame. Yet no self-made garment can take away our dishonor in front of Allah. No effort can wipe off the scratch made by sin in Allah's perfect world. Nothing can repair it, and nothing can make it good. In Allah's sight, the sinner is naked. Allah knows every single thought, even 1,000 good acts that a man may do will never wipe away sin. A way out was needed. Please follow what happened. According to the honored Quran, Adam and Hawa realized that they could not get out of what had happened just by themselves. Eventually, they had to acknowledge their full dependency on Allah's grace. If you continue to read the text in Al-A'raf, in verse 23, it is said that they, Adam and Eve, said, "O Lord, we have cheated ourselves. And if you do not forgive us, if you have no mercy on us, surely we are lost." Adam and Hawa had misused Allah's goodness. Even though they repented, one may wonder if this was enough to repair this broken relation. We know by experience how difficult it is to forget an insult or an offense. No matter what you may give or do to make it good, it will never be enough. As the honored Quran says, Az-Zumar 39:47, "Even if the wrongdoers possessed all the wealth of the earth, and as much more, they would be prepared to offer it all as ransom to escape the terrible punishment on the day of resurrection. However," notice how the ayat continues, "but something will appear before them which they had never anticipated." Please allow me to try a more accurate translation. It will appear to them something coming from Allah that they had not taken into account. The word account is often used to name the final day of humanity, Yom al-Hisab, on which Allah will recount our good and bad deed, Hisab. Therefore, the ayat clearly states that all the wealth of the earth would by far not be enough to redeem us. It means to fill our account towards Allah. There's only one situation where lost honor can be vindicated in a satisfying way: in case the victim takes the initiative and forgives to the perpetrator. And this is what Allah did. He took the initiative and imparted His mercy through an action that has amazed the prophets and messengers throughout the centuries. Again, we quote from the honored Quran, Al-A'raf, verse 26. "O children of Adam, yes, we have revealed to you, we have let come down the remnant, a cloth to conceal your shame, and splendid vesture, but the remnant of piety that is best. These are the signs of Allah that perhaps they may remember." What happened there, please look carefully. You remember that when we mentioned a few minutes ago that a ram came from Allah to die instead of Ibrahim's son. In the same way, A garment had come from Allah to cover the embarrassment, the shame of Adam and Eve. This was the first blood sacrifice ever made, and it was performed by Allah Himself in order to provide a clothing of skins that covered the nakedness of Adam and Eve. To make this possible, though, a living being had to die. This innocent animal was killed instead of the sinners. Through him, the connection between God and the people were re-established. And therefore, the human beings had no more reason to hide from Allah's sight from now on. Their disgrace is taken away, or if preferred, their dignity has been given back. For the fleece of the victim covered them like a beautiful, new, clean garment. Here is the unexpected solution that Allah gives to the problem of sin and death. On the day of reckoning, they will stand before Allah as if they had never rebelled. Allah is the bringer of death and at the same time the restorer. Therefore, there is no need to wait any longer. Allah longs to forgive us. He is the righteous one, but He is first of all the compassionate one. The question is, how is Allah going to forgive us? In Saba 34 verse 37, He said, "It's not your wealth nor your children that will bring you near unto us." The word to bring near stems from the word korban. No wealth, not even the sacrifice of our own children, could be acceptable to Allah as an appropriate korban. No one can buy the favor of Allah, no matter how big his sacrifice may be. A whole trainload of fruit and vegetables would not obtain forgiveness for even one sin. However, it is said that Adam received something from Allah, something able to bring him back to the right way. The honored Quran says in Al-Baqarah 37, "Then Adam received some words from his Lord. So he turned to him mercifully. Surely he is of returning to mercy, the merciful." This ayat mentions some words given by Allah to Adam. What are they? The answer is found in the next ayat, 37, 38, 39. We said, "Go forth from this state, so surely there will come to you a guidance from me. Then whoever follows my guidance, no fear shall come upon them, nor shall they grieve. And as to those who disbelieve and reject my communications, they are the inmates of the fire. In it they shall abide." Here, Allah takes away the grief and fear for those who would accept His mercy and the guidance coming from Him. Allah reveals to us that the only way to salvation for mankind, to escape the condemnation of sin, is to trust in His mercy. Allah is the only one who can grant forgiveness. He is the only one who can show the way to salvation. In Surah Al-Isra 17:57, it is said, "Those unto whom they cry seek the way of approach to their Lord. Which of them shall be the nearest? Those who hope for His mercy and fear His doom. Lo, the doom of thy Lord is to be shunned." Consequently, the sinner who wants to receive forgiveness for his sins has to exactly follow the way of redemption that Allah has opened. Following this way is what the genuine Iman is. Faith. A faith going much farther, just saying, "Oh yes, I believe in Allah, in His angels, in His books, in the judgment day, etc." Iman, faith, is a trust relationship on the straight way. Imagine you are guiding a blind man on a narrow path. This man trusts you completely. He relies on your ability and willingness to have him reach the goal. In the same way, we are spiritually blind and ask Allah to give us into the right way, into the straight path. Let Him guide us. This is true Iman. This is true faith. This is the only way to be acquitted in the godly judgment. Allah's compassion. There is no other way to get to paradise. What it means will be our next subject. Be sure not to miss it. May God bless you and give you His peace.